All right, now we're going to start on the muscles of the leg. We're going to start first with your gluteus muscles. There's three. You have gluteus maximus, medius, and minimus. If you look right here, obviously your butt, this is going to be your gluteus maximus. Notice the direction of the fibers. They're kind of running at an angle. So when those fibers contract, they're going to shorten, and you just look where they're inserted. So they're going to actually just pull that leg back. So they're going to do the hyperextension.
I can't do now to pull your leg back.
All right. Hyper extension of the leg. Okay, so that's just, again, go with the grain of the fibers and you can automatically figure out what the action of these muscles are going to be. They're also going to help with the eversion and the lateral rotation of the leg, so when they're kind of pulling it out like that, they'll do that as well. Then underneath the gluteus maximus, you have this kind of fan-shaped muscle right here called the gluteus medius. That's the middle muscle. They want you to know the origins and insertions on this one. The origin on this one is actually the lateral surface of the ilium. So imagine your big hip bone that's flared out right here where you put your hands on your hip. That's going to be the ilium. So it's going to be on the lateral surface of that ilium, and then it goes down into the proximal part of the femur, actually on the greater trochanter of the femur. So that's going to be its insertion. Again, look at the grain of the fibers and you can see what's going to happen. When those shorten, they're kind of running like that. When they shorten, that's going to pop your leg out. So it's going to be like a dog going to pee on a bush. He's going to lift that leg up like that, and that's going to be the action of that muscle. Then you also have the gluteus minimus, which is underneath here. You can't see it on these models. You can see it on these models right here if we can swirl around. All right, let's try that again. You got the gluteus maximus, which comes up and makes the big part of your rear end. Then you've got the gluteus medius, which that's been cut out right there, but those two pieces would be part of the gluteus medius. And then under the medius, you have the gluteus minimus. Again, the minimus fibers are running the same direction as the medius fibers, so that's going to give you that doggy lift on your leg, so it pulls your leg out laterally. All right, so that's the gluteus muscles. Then you have the quadricep muscles. Quad tells you that there's 4 muscles in this group. These are going to be on the anterior surface of your upper leg. So just right here, if you put your hand on your leg, that's where they're going to be. These are real easy to remember what they're doing. You start with this central muscle right here that kind of looks like a feather. That's called the rectus femoris. When it contracts, those fibers are going to, do my leg over here, when the rectus femoris contracts, it's going to flex your hip, but then it also extends your knee. So if you want to flex your hip or extend your knee, you're going to need these quadricep muscles. So when the prime mover is the rectus femoris, you're going to have this straight out flexing and extending of the knee, flexing of the hip and extending of the knee. Then you've got 3 what are called vastus muscles. You have the vastus medialis, the vastus lateralis, and then underneath the rectus femoris, you have the vastus intermedius. Excuse me, vastus, yeah, that's right, intermedius. All right, so again, just look where they are, and that tells you the action. The medialis is going to pull your leg in, kind of invert your knee. It's on the medial side, so that's going to invert your knee. The vastus lateralis is going to evert your knee, kind of turn it out like that. And then the vastus intermedius is going to have that same synergistic effect that goes along with the rectus femoris. So again, let's run through those. You've got, get it right here, no, I had it right. You've got the rectus femoris in the middle, the vastus medialis on the medial side, vastus lateralis on the lateral side, and then underneath the rectus femoris you have the vastus intermedius. Just remember where they are, and that tells you the action. Medial is going to turn your leg medial or adduct it, kind of invert it. The lateral, when vastus lateralis is going to evert your knee, and then the vastus intermedius is going to work synergistically with the rectus femoris. All right, then, if you look on the back side of the leg, so if you just like pull your hand right there under your butt and put your hand right there, you're going to be with a group of muscles known as the hamstrings. There's only 3 of these that you need to know. If you'll follow the lateral side of the leg, so make sure you're on the lateral side of the leg, you've got one group here and then one here. On the lateral side here, this is going to be the biceps femoris. You remember you have your biceps brachii in your arm. Well, if you reach down, the first muscle, your biceps femoris, are going to be the biceps femoris. So the biceps that you reach down with are going to help you touch that biceps. I don't know if that came out very clear, but anyway. Anyway, just know on the lateral side, you're going to have the biceps femoris. Remember, 2 heads, and it's in the femoral region. This is going to help you do the exact opposite of what these muscles on the anterior surface did. So these on the front are going to flex the hip and extend the knees, while these in the back are going to flex the knee and extend the hip. So it's just totally antagonistic. Okay? Then you have 2 muscles here that sit on top of each other next to the biceps femoris. That's going to be the semitendinosus. Think of tendons as being skinny, so that's going to be the skinny one on the top, and the semimembranosus, which is going to be the one underneath it. So you have biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and then semimembranosus running right underneath it. And again, all of these are going to be antagonistic to your quadricep muscles, so they are going to flex your knee and extend your hip. The semitendinosus is going to help kind of rotating your leg a little to the medial aspect, but they all kind of do basically the same thing. All right, then if you look at your other thigh muscles, if you look on the medial side of your thigh, you've got 2 muscles here that come down and kind of make a V, okay? You've got the gracilis and the sartorius. Let's start with the gracilis here. The gracilis is the innermost thigh muscle, and what it's going to do is it's going to adduct your legs. So all of these muscles are going to be pulling your leg muscles together like you're riding on a horse. The way I remember gracilis is, think about how a lady sits. If she's sitting like this, she's not sitting graceful, but if you pull your legs together, that's sitting graceful, so that's the gracilis. Then you have the sartorius, and notice it runs from the lateral aspect all the way to the medial aspect. So if you take that fibers, anytime you see a muscle that's running from lateral to medial, you're going to get kind of a crossing motion. So in this case, when these fibers shorten, that's going to pull your knee up and out. So it's going to evert your knee, but it's also going to flex your knee and kind of pull it up so that you're sitting kind of like an Indian when you contract that muscle. If you look in between the gracilis and the sartorius, you've got a group of muscles here that we're just going to call the adductors, not adductors. So if it's an adductor, it's bringing things closer to the midline. Okay, so that's it for the muscles of the upper thigh. Remember this V right here, those are all going to kind of adduct your leg, and then the sartorius, of course, is going to kind of bring that knee out, so it's going to evert your knee as it flexes the knee. And then the gracilis is going to adduct the leg as well. So that's it.
And I would just say, you can't use the word quadricep or hamstring. You have to name the muscles.
Yeah, do not just say quadriceps or hamstrings. You're going to have to name all of these muscles individually, but that just kind of groups them together, and if you'll try to memorize them as a group, it's a whole lot easier to learn them.